I woke up on Christmas morning to silence. Not the peaceful kind that settles over a house still drowsy with sleep, but the hollow kind that echoes through empty rooms. I lay in bed for a moment, staring at the ceiling of my childhood bedroom, listening for the sounds that should have been there. The clatter of pots in the kitchen. My mother's voice calling up the stairs. My younger brother complaining about something trivial. Nothing. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. 7:30 in the morning. I pulled on my robe and walked downstairs, my bare feet cold against the hardwood floors. The living room looked untouched. No presents under the tree. No coffee brewing in the kitchen. No notes on the counter. I checked every room. My parents' bedroom was empty, the bed made with military precision. My brother's room was a disaster, but he was gone. The guest room where my aunt usually stayed during the holidays was spotless and vacant. They were all gone. I stood in the kitchen, my phone in my hand, trying to make sense of it. I called my mother first. Straight to voicemail. Then my father. Same result. My brother did not even have voicemail set up, just an automated message saying the subscriber could not be reached. I opened my laptop on the kitchen counter and logged into my email. Nothing. No messages about changed plans or family emergencies. I checked the family group chat on my phone. The last message was from 3 days ago, my mother reminding everyone about Christmas dinner at 2 in the afternoon. Then I saw it. A notification from a social media app I rarely used. I opened it and felt my stomach drop. My mother had posted a photo 20 minutes ago. She stood in front of the Eiffel Tower, wrapped in a camel coat, my father beside her with his arm around her shoulders. The caption read, "Christmas magic in the City of Light. So grateful for this family time." I scrolled down. My brother had posted too. A selfie at what looked like a fancy French cafe, a croissant in front of him. My aunt had shared a picture of the interior of what I recognized as a first-class airplane cabin. They had gone to Paris. All of them. Without me. I sat down at the kitchen table, still holding my phone. My hands were shaking. Not from cold but from something else. Something that felt like a fist closing around my lungs. I had taken time off work for this. I worked as a project coordinator at a commercial real estate development firm in Denver, and December was always chaotic. But I had requested the days off months in advance because family mattered. Because my mother had specifically asked me to be home for Christmas. She had sent me a long text in October about how important it was that we all be together this year. I read through our old messages. There it was, her text from October 15th. "Anne, please make sure you can be home for Christmas. I know work is demanding, but family comes first. We need you here. This year is special." I had rearranged project deadlines. I had stayed late at the office for 2 weeks straight in early December to make sure everything was covered. I had driven 6 hours through a snowstorm 2 days ago to get here on time. And they had left without me. I made coffee because I needed something to do with my hands. While it brewed, I went back upstairs and checked my room more carefully. My suitcase was still packed in the corner where I had left it. The Christmas gift I had brought for the family exchange sat on the dresser, wrapped in green paper with a silver bow. I opened my closet. All my old clothes were still there, untouched. I checked the bathroom. My toiletries were arranged neatly on the counter where I had left them last night. There was no sign that anyone had tried to wake me. No note slipped under my door. No text message sent while I was asleep. I sat on my bed with my coffee and looked at the photos again. They were not just in Paris. They were in expensive Paris. My mother's coat was Burberry. The hotel visible in the background of my aunt's photo had a name I recognized from luxury travel magazines. My brother's cafe was in the 6th arrondissement, where a coffee costs more than a full meal anywhere else. This was not a last-minute trip. This was planned. Tickets to Paris during Christmas week cost a fortune. The hotel rooms, the restaurants, the whole thing probably cost more than I made in 3 months. I thought about my apartment in Denver. Small, but mine. I had moved out 2 years ago after finishing my degree. My parents had not been thrilled. They wanted me to stay home longer, save money, be close to family. But I needed space. I needed to build my own life. They had never quite forgiven me for that. My mother made comments during phone calls about how I was too independent, too focused on my career. My father said I was missing out on family time. My brother, 19 and still living at home while attending community college, was held up as the example of family loyalty. But I had come home. I had made the effort. I had prioritized them, just like my mother asked. And they had gotten on a plane to Paris without me. I finished my coffee and made a decision. I was not going to panic. I was not going to call them crying and begging for an explanation. I was not going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me hurt. I was going to call my lawyer. I had met Veronica 6 months ago at a professional networking event in Denver. She specialized in family law and estate planning, and we had hit it off over terrible conference coffee and shared frustrations about boundary issues with families. She had given me her card and told me to call if I ever needed anything. I found her card in my wallet and dialed her number. It was Christmas morning, but Veronica had mentioned she worked most holidays. She answered on the third ring. "This is Veronica." "Hi, this is Anne. We met at the networking event in June. I hope I am not disturbing your morning, Anne." "Of course I remember you. Commercial real estate, right? And no, you are not disturbing me. I am just finishing up some paperwork. What can I do for you?" I took a breath. I need to know about my legal rights regarding family property and inheritance. Specifically, I need to know if my family can exclude me from things that are technically mine. There was a pause. "Are you okay? This sounds serious." "I am fine. I just need information." Veronica's voice shifted into professional mode. "Tell me what is going on." I explained the situation. The empty house. The Paris trip. The complete absence of communication. Then I told her about the house itself. My grandmother had died 3 years ago and left her house to her 3 children, my father, my aunt, and my uncle who lived in Seattle. But the will had included a specific provision. The house was to be held in trust for the grandchildren, my brother, my 2 cousins, and me. We would inherit it when the last of my grandmother's children passed away, but in the meantime, it was meant to be a family home. Available to all of us. I had a copy of the will in my apartment in Denver. I had read it carefully when my grandmother died because I wanted to understand what it meant. The language was clear. The house was for family use. All family members had equal rights to stay there. "So they cannot actually keep you out of the house," Veronica said. "If the trust is set up the way you are describing, you have a legal right to be there." That is what I thought. But they left without telling me. They planned this whole expensive trip and did not include me. That is cruel, but not necessarily illegal. However, there might be other issues at play here. "Anne, do you know who manages the trust?" I frowned. "My father, I think. He is the oldest." "And do you know if there are any financial arrangements connected to the property? Rental income, property taxes, maintenance costs?" I thought about it. The house was in a nice neighborhood in Boulder, close to the university. Property values had gone up significantly in the past few years. I do not know the details. Why? Because if your father is managing the trust, he has a fiduciary duty to act in the best interests of all beneficiaries. That includes you. If he is making decisions that benefit some family members over others, or if he is using trust assets inappropriately, that could be a problem. Something clicked in my mind. They are posting photos all over social media. Expensive hotels, fancy restaurants. My parents are both retired. My father's pension is decent, but not Paris at Christmas decent. My brother is in community college and works part-time at a grocery store. My aunt is a school teacher. "Where did the money come from?" Veronica asked quietly. "I do not know. I think you should find out. After the holidays, we should sit down and go through all the trust documents. But Anne, I need to ask you something. What do you want out of this? Information? Accountability? Revenge?" I looked out my bedroom window at the snow-covered street. "I want them to understand that they cannot treat me like this. I want consequences." "Okay. Here is what we are going to do. First, do not leave that house. You have every right to be there. Second, document everything. Screenshots of the social media posts, timestamps, everything. Third, Start looking for any financial records related to the house. Bank statements, property tax bills, anything you can find. And fourth, do not confront them yet. Let them come home. Let them think everything is fine. Why? Because people make mistakes when they feel safe. Right now, they think you are going to be hurt and confused. They are not expecting you to fight back. That gives you an advantage. I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger exactly, but something colder and more focused. What happens after they come home? We file a formal request for a full accounting of the trust. Your father will have to provide detailed records of every penny that has gone in and out. If he has been using trust funds for personal expenses, that is a breach of fiduciary duty. Depending on what we find, we could force him to step down as trustee. We could even sue for damages. How long will this take? The initial request? I can have it ready in 3 days. The investigation? That depends on what we find and how cooperative they are. I thought about my parents in Paris, posting their perfect vacation photos. My brother eating croissants without a care in the world. My aunt probably shopping on the Champs-Élysées. 3 days. They would be gone for at least a week based on my mother's posts. That gave me time. Do it, I said. Prepare everything. I will get you whatever documentation I can find. Anne, are you sure? This is going to change your family dynamics permanently. I looked at the wrapped present on my dresser. The green paper suddenly looked garish and stupid. They already changed it. I am just responding. Okay. I will start drafting the documents today. Merry Christmas, Anne. Merry Christmas, Veronica. I hung up and sat in the silence of the empty house. Then I got to work. The house had always been my grandmother's pride. She had bought it in 1972 with money she inherited from her own mother, and she had maintained it meticulously until the day she died. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen with original tile work that was now worth more than some people's cars. The basement was finished with built-in bookshelves and a fireplace. The attic had been converted into a study. My grandmother had been a librarian. She believed in keeping records. I started in my father's study, which had been my grandmother's bedroom. He had taken it over after she died, moving in his own desk and filing cabinets. The room still smelled like her lavender sachets, though. Some things could not be erased. The filing cabinets were locked, but I knew where my father kept the keys. He was a creature of habit. Top drawer of his desk, in an old cigar box that had belonged to my grandfather. I opened the first cabinet and found exactly what I was looking for. Trust documents. Bank statements. Property tax records going back 3 years. I spread everything out on the desk and started taking pictures with my phone. Every page, every statement, every receipt. Then I began to read. The trust was set up exactly as I remembered. My grandmother had left the house to be held in trust for her grandchildren, with her 3 children acting as co-trustees until the youngest grandchild turned 30. That would be my brother, which meant the trust had another 11 years to run. But only my father was listed as the active trustee. My aunt and uncle had signed documents transferring their management responsibilities to him. That was not unusual. Someone had to handle the day-to-day decisions. What was unusual was what he had done with that authority. I found the property tax statements first. The house was assessed at $800,000. Property taxes in Boulder were not cheap. But the taxes were paid from a trust account, exactly as they should be. Then I found the bank statements for that same trust account. My grandmother had funded it with $200,000 when she created the trust. That money was supposed to cover property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and repairs. 3 years ago, the account had a balance of $190,000. Last month, it had $42,000. $150,000 had been spent in 3 years. I went through the statements line by line, photographing each one. Property taxes were $12,000 a year. Insurance was another $3,000. Reasonable maintenance expenses appeared regularly. New roof 2 years ago, $30,000. Plumbing repairs, $4,000. Normal things. But there were other withdrawals. Large ones. $20,000 in June of last year, labeled family retreat expenses. $15,000 in September, labeled trust beneficiary distribution. Another $18,000 in March, labeled Property Improvement Consultation. I searched the files for receipts or invoices matching those expenses. There were none. I found something else, though. Rental agreements. My father had been renting out the house during summer months when none of the family was using it. Short-term vacation rentals, probably through one of those online platforms. The rental income should have gone back into the trust account. It had not. I found deposit slips showing the money going into a personal account belonging to my father. I photographed everything. Then I checked the date on the most recent bank statement. November 30th. The trust account balance before the Paris trip was $42,000. I logged into my own bank account on my phone and checked the balance. $23,000. My emergency fund and savings combined. Money I had been carefully accumulating since I started working full-time. Then I did something that felt both invasive and necessary. I used my father's computer to check his email. He never logged out of anything, a habit I had scolded him about before. His password was the same one he had used for everything since I was a child, my grandmother's birthday. His inbox was a mess, but I found what I needed quickly. Email confirmations for the Paris trip. First-class tickets for 4 people purchased in October. Hotel reservations at a place that charged €900 per night. Restaurant bookings at Michelin-starred establishments. The total cost of the trip was easily $60,000. I found the credit card statement showing the charges. My father had paid for everything up front. But there was an email from early November showing a wire transfer from the trust account to his personal account. $45,000. The description said emergency property repairs. There had been no emergency property repairs. I photographed everything and emailed copies to myself. Then I sent them to Veronica with a brief message. Found the money trail. She responded within an hour. This is worse than I thought. He is stealing from his own children. We have enough for a strong case. I will have the formal request ready tomorrow. I spent the rest of Christmas Day alone in the house, going through every file, every drawer, every box in the basement. I found more rental agreements. More unexplained withdrawals. More evidence that my father had been treating the trust like his personal bank account. By evening, I had a complete picture. My father had taken over $150,000 from the trust over 3 years. He had used the money to fund a lifestyle he could not otherwise afford. Vacations, home improvements to his own condo in Denver that he bought 2 years ago, even a new car for my brother. And now he had taken my entire family to Paris using money that partially belonged to me. I made myself dinner from whatever I could find in the freezer. Chicken and rice, simple and tasteless. I ate at the kitchen table, looking at the empty chairs where my family should have been sitting. My phone buzzed with messages from friends asking about my Christmas. I responded with generic pleasantries. Everything is fine. Family time is great. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I was not going to tell anyone what was happening. Not yet. Not until my family came home and found out what I had done. 3 days, Veronica had said. I had 3 days to prepare. They had no idea what was waiting for them. My family returned on December 28th, 6 days after they left. I heard the car pull into the driveway at 4 in the afternoon. I was sitting in the living room, reading a book, exactly where I wanted them to find me. My mother came through the door first, dragging a suitcase behind her. She stopped when she saw me. Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Surprise, confusion, and then something that looked almost like guilt. It vanished quickly, replaced by a bright, artificial smile. Anne, you are still here. We thought you would have gone back to Denver by now. My father followed behind her, carrying 2 more suitcases. He did not look surprised at all. He looked annoyed. What are you doing here? I closed my book carefully and set it on the coffee table. I live here. Well, I have the right to stay here whenever I want. This is my grandmother's house, and according to the trust, I am a beneficiary with equal access. My brother came in last, earbuds in his ears, completely oblivious. My aunt was not with them. She had apparently extended her stay in Paris for another week. My mother set down her suitcase and took off her coat. Of course you can stay here, sweetie. We just did not expect you to be here when we got back. How was your Christmas? Quiet, I said. I woke up alone in an empty house and spent the day by myself. How was Paris? The artificial brightness in my mother's smile dimmed slightly. It was wonderful. Such a beautiful city. You would have loved it. I am sure I would have. If I had been invited. My father carried the suitcases toward the stairs. Anne, do not start. We needed a family vacation, and you have been so busy with work lately. We did not want to burden you. I stood up. You did not want to burden me with a free trip to Paris? That is interesting. Because I specifically took time off work to be here for Christmas. Because Mom asked me to. She said it was important that we all be together. My mother's hands fluttered nervously. We did not plan this very far in advance. It was sort of a last-minute opportunity. The tickets were on sale, and we just thought, why not? A little adventure. I had the screenshots on my phone showing the October purchase date, but I did not pull them out yet. And you could not send a text? Leave a note? Wake me up before you left? You look so peaceful sleeping, my mother said. We did not want to disturb you. My brother finally pulled out his earbuds. Wait, you are mad because we went to Paris without you? That is kind of selfish, Anne. Not everything is about you. I looked at him. 19 years old, never paid rent, never held a full-time job, never had to budget for groceries or worry about how to pay for health insurance. You are right. Not everything is about me. This is about respect. About basic human decency. About not abandoning your family member on Christmas morning. My father came back downstairs. Enough. Anne, you are being dramatic. We took a family trip. You are an adult with your own life. You do not need us to hold your hand. Then why did Mom beg me to come home for Christmas? Why did she say family comes first and this year was special? My mother looked away. I just meant it would be nice to have you home. So nice that you left without me. The room fell silent. I could see my father calculating, trying to figure out how to smooth this over. My mother looked genuinely uncomfortable. My brother just looked confused. I picked up my book. I am going to my room. Welcome home. I walked upstairs and closed the door behind me. I heard them talking downstairs, voices low and urgent. I could not make out the words, but the tone was clear. They were arguing about me. I texted Veronica, they are home. She replied immediately, documents are ready. I can serve them tomorrow if you are sure. I thought about it. Serving my father with a formal legal request for a trust accounting would make this real. It would create a permanent rift. There would be no going back from it. I looked around my childhood bedroom. At the posters on the walls that I had put up when I was 16. At the bookshelf full of novels I had read 100 times. At the window where I used to sit and dream about my future. This had been my home. But it had stopped being home the moment my family decided I was disposable. I texted back, I am sure. Serve him tomorrow morning. I slept better that night than I had in days. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run. The air was cold and sharp, but it felt good to move. I ran through the neighborhood where I had grown up, past the elementary school I had attended, past the park where I had learned to ride a bike. When I got back to the house, there was a car I did not recognize parked in the driveway. I went inside and found my mother in the kitchen, making coffee. She looked tired. There is someone here to see your father, she said quietly. A woman. She said she is a process server. I poured myself water from the tap. Okay. Anne, what did you do? I drank the water slowly. I protected my interests. My father appeared in the doorway. He was holding papers. His face was red. What the hell is this? I set down my glass. That is a formal request for a full accounting of the family trust. I am exercising my rights as a beneficiary to review all financial records, transactions, and decisions made by the trustee. You have 30 days to provide comprehensive documentation. He stared at me. You are suing me? I am not suing anyone, yet. I am asking for information that I am legally entitled to have. If you have been managing the trust properly, this should not be a problem. My mother stepped forward. Anne, please. Let's talk about this like adults. There is no need to involve lawyers. I looked at her. You left me alone on Christmas. You spent months planning an expensive vacation and deliberately excluded me. You lied to me about how important it was that I be here. And now you want to talk like adults? My father slapped the papers down on the kitchen counter. This is what happens when you fill a young woman's head with too many ideas. Your grandmother spoiled you. Made you think you were entitled to everything. Grandma left me part of this house. She left it to all of us. And you have been using it like your personal piggy bank. The color drained from his face. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I had taken. I am talking about the $150,000 you have taken from the trust account in the past 3 years. I am talking about the rental income you kept for yourself. I am talking about the $45,000 wire transfer you made to yourself in November to pay for the Paris trip. My mother's hand went to her mouth. Jacob, you said that money came from your pension. My father did not look at her. He kept his eyes on me. You went through my private files. I went through trust documents that I have a legal right to access. This house belongs to all of us, remember? That means the study belongs to all of us. The files belong to all of us. My brother appeared in the doorway, phone in hand. What's going on? Your father has been stealing from your inheritance, I said flatly. That Paris trip? Paid for with money that was supposed to be saved for you and me. My brother looked at my father. Dad? My father's hands clenched into fists. I did not steal anything. I am the trustee. I make decisions about how the money gets spent. That is my job. Your job is to act in the best interests of all beneficiaries, I said. Not to fund your retirement adventures. Veronica, my lawyer, explained this very clearly. Every penny you spend from that trust has to be justified. And personal vacations do not qualify. My mother sank into a chair. Jacob, tell me she is wrong. Tell me you did not do this. My father ignored her. He pointed at me. You have no idea what you are talking about. I have been taking care of this house for 3 years. Do you know how much work that is? The maintenance, the repairs, the property taxes. Someone has to manage all of that. And you get compensated for it, I said. The trust allows for reasonable trustee fees. But you have been taking way more than that. And the Paris trip was not a trustee fee. It was theft. I provided that trust accounting to my siblings every year. They never complained. Because they trusted you. And because I am willing to bet you did not give them the whole picture. I pulled up another photo on my phone. Did you tell them about the rental income? Did you mention that you have been pocketing $15,000 a year from summer rentals? My mother stood up abruptly. You rented out my mother's house? It was sitting empty, my father said defensively. It made sense to generate some income from it. Income that was supposed to go back into the trust, I said. Not into your pocket. My brother was looking at his phone, scrolling through something. Dad, there is a listing for this house on a vacation rental site. You charge $3,000 a week. My father grabbed for the phone, but my brother pulled it away. Do not touch me. The dynamic in the room was shifting. My mother was not looking at my father with confusion anymore. She was looking at him with something colder. My brother was not defending him either. How much did you take? My mother asked quietly. My father did not answer. $150,000 over 3 years, I said. Give or take. My mother closed her eyes. Oh, Jacob. I was going to pay it back, my father said. His voice had changed. The anger was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like panic. I just needed some time. The market is good right now. I have some investments that are going to pay off. You gambled with our inheritance? My brother said. Are you kidding me? I did not gamble. I made strategic investments. Real estate opportunities. Stock options. Things that will benefit all of us in the long run. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. What investments? My father did not meet my eyes. It does not matter. They are going to pay off. What investments, Dad? A development project downtown. Some friends of mine are building a mixed-use complex. I got in on the ground floor. When it is finished, we will double our money. My mother was staring at him. You invested trust money in a real estate development? It is a sure thing, my father insisted. The permits are approved. Construction starts in the spring. We will have returns by next year. I knew enough about commercial real estate to recognize desperation when I heard it. Who are these friends? What company? It does not matter. It absolutely matters. Because if you lost that money, you are personally liable for every penny. And I am guessing from your reaction that this investment is not looking as good as you hoped. My father finally looked at me. His face was gray. The lead investor pulled out last week. The project is stalled. But it is going to recover. These things happen. It is just a temporary setback. My mother made a sound that might have been a sob. You lost $150,000 of your children's money on a failed real estate deal. It is not failed. It is delayed. Same thing, I said. You breached your fiduciary duty. You took money that did not belong to you and made unauthorized investments. That is enough for a judge to remove you as trustee and force you to repay every penny you took. My brother sat down heavily on the couch. I cannot believe this. I thought we were rich. I thought the Paris trip was because you had saved up for it. We did save for it, my father said weakly. In a way. You stole from your own children, my mother said. Her voice was flat. From Anne and Tyler. To pay for vacations and investments and God knows what else. Tyler. My brother's name was Tyler. I realized I had barely spoken to him since they got home. He was not part of this plan. He was just collateral damage. I looked at him. I am sorry. I did not want you to find out like this. He looked back at me. But you knew. Before we left for Paris, you knew. I suspected. I confirmed it while you were gone. And you did not tell me. I was not sure how you would react. I thought you might warn Dad. Tyler stood up. I am not on his side. I am on my side. That money is mine too. Half of it, anyway. And he spent it on a trip he did not even invite you to. He looked at our father. That is messed up, Dad. Even for you. My father's face was getting redder again. Both of you are ungrateful. I have provided for this family for 26 years. I put a roof over your heads, food on the table, clothes on your backs. And this is how you repay me? By calling me a thief? You are a thief, I said simply. You stole money that Grandma left for us. Money that was supposed to be protected. And you spent it on yourself. I spent it on the family. That Paris trip was for all of us. Except Anne, Tyler said. You left her home. On Christmas. My mother stood up and walked to the window. She stood there for a long moment, looking out at the snow-covered yard. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. I think you should leave, Jacob. My father stared at her. What? I think you should go stay somewhere else for a few days. I need time to think. This is my house too. No, I said. Actually, it is not. This is Grandma's house, held in trust for Tyler and me. You are just a trustee. And not a very good one. Mom can stay because she is married to you, but you have no independent right to be here. My father looked around the room, at the three of us. Whatever he saw in our faces made something break in his expression. Fine. I will go. But this is not over. No, I agreed. It is definitely not over. He left without packing a bag. We heard his car start in the driveway and then pull away. The house fell silent again. My mother turned from the window. How bad is it, really? I pulled up the bank statements on my phone. The trust account has $42,000 left. It should have close to $200,000. Property taxes are due in April. That is $12,000 right there. Without the rental income Dad was pocketing, there is not enough to maintain the house long term. Can we sue him? Tyler asked. Make him pay it back? Yes. But that takes time. And money for legal fees. And it assumes he actually has assets to seize. My mother closed her eyes. He does not. The condo he bought is mortgaged. His pension is protected. His investment in that development project is probably worthless. Then what do we do? Tyler asked. I looked at both of them. We force him to resign as trustee. We appoint someone else, probably a professional firm. We document everything he did wrong. And we make sure he never has access to this money again. Will that be enough? My mother asked. For you, I mean. Is that enough revenge? I thought about waking up alone on Christmas morning. About the hollow feeling in my chest when I saw those photos from Paris. About years of being made to feel like the difficult daughter, the one who was too independent, too focused on her career, too unwilling to sacrifice for family. No, I said. It is not enough. But it is a start. The next 2 weeks moved quickly. Veronica filed a formal petition with the court to remove my father as trustee and force a complete accounting of the trust. My father hired his own lawyer, a man who specialized in making uncomfortable truths disappear. It did not work. The evidence was too clear. Bank statements showing withdrawals that did not match expenses. Rental income deposited into personal accounts. Wire transfers with vague descriptions that had no supporting documentation. The failed investment in the development project, made without consulting the other beneficiaries or getting court approval. The hearing was scheduled for January 15th. I took the day off work and drove back to Boulder. Tyler came too. My mother did not. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Just a judge, a court reporter, the lawyers, and us. My father sat on the opposite side of the room with his attorney. He did not look at me. The judge was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She reviewed the documents Veronica had submitted. She asked my father's attorney if he disputed any of the facts. He did not. Instead, he argued that my father had acted in good faith, that the investments were meant to benefit the trust in the long run, and that removing him as trustee was an overreaction. The judge was not impressed. Mr. Jacob, she said, looking directly at my father. You took $150,000 from a trust account over a 3-year period. You used that money for personal expenses, including vacations, and for an unauthorized investment that has lost most of its value. You collected rental income from trust property and deposited it into your personal account. You failed to provide accurate accounting to the other co-trustees or beneficiaries. Is that correct? My father cleared his throat. Your Honor, I can explain. I am sure you can. But the facts are not in dispute. You breached your fiduciary duty. The question is not whether you did it, but what the consequences should be. Veronica stood. Your Honor, the beneficiaries request that Mr. Jacob be removed as trustee immediately, and that a professional trust company be appointed in his place. We also request that the court order a full forensic accounting of the trust going back 5 years, and that Mr. Jacob be held personally liable for any losses resulting from his mismanagement. The judge nodded. Mr. Jacob's attorney, do you have a response? Your Honor, my client is willing to resign as trustee voluntarily. He acknowledges that mistakes were made. However, he disputes that he should be held personally liable for the investment losses. Those were business decisions made in good faith. Good faith? The judge's voice was dry. He invested trust funds in a speculative real estate project without authorization and without disclosing it to anyone. That is not good faith. That is recklessness at best and fraud at worst. My father's attorney sat down. There was nothing more to say. The judge made her ruling from the bench. My father was removed as trustee immediately. A professional firm would be appointed to manage the trust going forward. My father was ordered to cooperate fully with a forensic audit. And most importantly, he was found personally liable for the losses to the trust. The judge set the amount at $150,000, to be paid over a period of no more than 5 years. If he failed to make payments, the court could seize his assets, including his pension. My father's face went white. His attorney started to object, but the judge cut him off. This is not negotiable. Mr. Jacob betrayed the trust his mother placed in him. He stole from his own children. The only reason I am not referring this matter for criminal prosecution is that the beneficiaries have not requested it. But make no mistake, this is theft. And it will not be tolerated. The hearing ended. My father left through a side door without looking at anyone. Tyler and I stood in the hallway outside the courtroom. Is it really over? Tyler asked. The legal part is, I said. The rest is up to us. He looked at me. Are you going to forgive him? I do not know. Are you? Tyler thought about it. I do not think I can. Not for a long time. He looked me in the eye for years and lied. He made me think we were doing okay financially. He let me believe the Paris trip was a gift, not stolen money. What are you going to do? I am moving out. I found a roommate situation near campus. It is cheap. I will work more hours and finish school. But I am done living in a house where he has any control. I felt a surge of affection for my brother. He was figuring it out. Good. You can always stay with me in Denver if you need to. Thanks. I might take you up on that. We walked out of the courthouse together. The January air was cold but clear. The mountains were visible in the distance, snow-covered and beautiful. My phone buzzed. It was my mother. Can we talk? I called her back. She answered immediately. Anne. I heard about the hearing. Are you okay? I am fine, Mom. The judge ruled in our favor. I know. Your father called me. He is very upset. I waited. Anne, I need you to know something. I did not know what he was doing. I thought the Paris trip was paid for with his pension and our savings. I did not know about the trust money. Okay. I am leaving him. I filed for divorce last week. I should have done it years ago, but I kept hoping he would change. I stopped walking. Tyler looked at me, concerned. You are divorcing, Dad? Yes. I cannot be married to someone who would do what he did. Not to his own children. Not to you and Tyler. Where will you go? I have a sister in Oregon. I will stay with her for a while. Figure things out. I still have my teaching certificate. I can work. Are you going to be okay? I do not know. But I know I cannot stay. Anne, I am so sorry. For Paris. For everything. I should have stood up for you. I should have questioned the trip when he suggested it. I just wanted to believe everything was fine. I know, Mom. Will you forgive me? I looked at the mountains. At the clear blue sky. At Tyler standing beside me, waiting to hear what I would say. Eventually, I said. But not today. That is fair. I love you, Anne. I love you too, Mom. I hung up. Tyler was watching me. She is leaving him? Yeah, good. We walked to our cars. Before we separated, Tyler hugged me. Thank you. For fighting. I would not have known what to do. You would have figured it out. Maybe. But you did it first. You made it possible for me to walk away. I drove back to Denver that afternoon. The roads were clear, the traffic light. I stopped halfway for coffee and a sandwich at a rest stop overlooking the mountains. I thought about my father, probably sitting in his lawyer's office trying to figure out how to come up with $150,000. I thought about my mother packing up her things, preparing to leave a marriage she had stayed in too long. I thought about Tyler, planning his escape to independence. And I thought about myself. Sitting alone on Christmas morning in an empty house. The moment that had changed everything. I did not regret calling Veronica. I did not regret filing the petition. I did not regret any of it. 3 months later, the forensic audit was complete. The professional trust company Veronica had recommended, a firm called Aspen Trust Services, delivered their report in mid-April. I read it in my apartment in Denver on a Tuesday evening after work. It was worse than I thought. The audit went back 5 years instead of 3, and it revealed that my father had been siphoning money from the trust since the moment he took over as sole trustee. Small amounts at first. 1,000 here, 2,000 there. Withdrawals labeled as maintenance that had no corresponding receipts. Then larger amounts as he grew bolder. The total came to $230,000. The development project I knew about accounted for $90,000. The rest had been spent on his lifestyle. The condo he bought. A car for Tyler that I had thought was a graduation present but was actually purchased with trust funds. Vacations beyond Paris. Restaurant bills. Even clothing and electronics. My father had been living beyond his means for years, and he had funded it by stealing from his children's inheritance. The report recommended that the court increase the amount he was required to repay to the full $230,000. Veronica filed a motion immediately. My father did not fight it. He could not. The evidence was undeniable. The court hearing to approve the amended judgment was scheduled for May 2nd. This time, my father did not show up. His attorney appeared and told the judge that his client acknowledged the debt and would begin making payments according to the court's schedule. The judge was not sympathetic. She increased the monthly payment amount and shortened the repayment period to 4 years. If my father missed even one payment, the court could begin seizing assets immediately. I left the courthouse feeling empty. Not satisfied, not victorious. Just empty. Tyler was waiting for me outside. He had driven down from Boulder for the hearing. "How are you feeling?" "Tired." "Want to get coffee?" We found a cafe near the courthouse and sat by the window. Tyler ordered an espresso. I got tea. "So Dad owes us $230,000 that he does not have," Tyler said. "What happens now?" "He pays what he can. The court garnishes his pension if he does not. Either way, we get the money back eventually." "But not really. Because we lost 5 years of growth. If that money had stayed in the trust, invested properly, it would be worth way more by now." "I know." Tyler stirred his espresso. "Do you feel better? Now that he is being held accountable?" I thought about it. I feel like justice was done. That is different from feeling better. "Fair." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Tyler said, "I saw Dad last week. He came by the house to pick up some things. He looked terrible. Like he aged 10 years. Did he say anything?" "He asked me to talk to you. To ask you to drop the case. He said he would pay back what he could, but the court order is ruining his life." I looked at my brother. "What did you tell him?" "I told him he ruined his own life. And that if he wanted to talk to you, he should call you himself." "Did he?" "No." I wrapped my hands around my tea mug. The warmth felt good. He will not call. That would require admitting he was wrong. Actually wrong, not just sorry he got caught. "Do you think he understands what he did?" "I think he understands he has to pay money he does not have. I do not think he understands why what he did was so terrible. In his mind, he was borrowing from the trust with the intention of paying it back. He does not see it as theft." "But it was theft." "Yes. It was." Tyler finished his espresso. "Mom is doing better, by the way. She got a job teaching middle school in Portland. She has an apartment near my aunt. She sounds happy. Well, happier." "Good. She deserves that. She asks about you. Wants to know if you will visit." "Maybe, eventually." "That is what you said about forgiving her." "I am working on it. Forgiveness takes time." Tyler smiled. "You sound like a therapist." "I have been seeing one. Veronica recommended her. It helps." "Should I see one?" "Probably. We both have family trauma to unpack." We left the cafe and walked to our cars. Before we separated, Tyler said, "Thank you again for starting this. I know it was not easy. It was necessary. Still, you could have just walked away. Gone back to Denver and cut everyone off. Instead, you fought." "I fought because walking away felt like letting him win. Like saying it was okay to treat people like that." "Well, you won. In case that matters." "It matters." I drove home and spent the evening on my couch, thinking about everything that had happened. The empty house on Christmas morning. The photos from Paris. The moment I decided to call Veronica instead of falling apart. I thought about my father's face in court, gray and defeated. My mother's voice on the phone, saying she was leaving. Tyler's realization that the trip he had enjoyed was paid for with stolen money. I thought about my grandmother, who had left us the house because she wanted to give us security. She had trusted her son to protect that gift. He had betrayed that trust in the worst way possible. But the house was safe now. The trust was being managed properly. Tyler and I would inherit it someday, just as my grandmother had intended. That felt like victory. Small, maybe. Incomplete, definitely. But real. By summer, the routine of my life had mostly returned to normal. I worked my job in Denver, attended project meetings, reviewed development proposals, and went home to my small apartment at the end of each day. Tyler came to visit every few weeks, crashing on my couch and eating everything in my refrigerator. The trust made its first distribution to beneficiaries in June. It was not much, just a percentage of the rental income from summer bookings at the house. But it was something. Proof that the system was working the way it was supposed to. I deposited my check and did not think about it too much. But the consequences for my father kept unfolding in ways I had not anticipated. In July, I got a call from my aunt. She had been silent through most of the legal proceedings, caught between loyalty to her brother and recognition that he had done something wrong. Now she wanted to talk. "Anne, I need to apologize. I should have paid more attention to the trust. I signed over my trustee responsibilities to Jacob without asking questions. I trusted him because he was my brother. That was naive." "It is okay," I said. "He fooled everyone." "No, it is not okay. I am a co-beneficiary too. My kids were supposed to inherit part of this house. If Jacob had bankrupted the trust, they would have lost their inheritance too. I should have been more vigilant." "What are you saying?" "I am saying I support what you did, completely. And I am telling everyone in the family the same thing. Some of them think you were too harsh. That you should have handled this privately. I am making sure they know the truth." "Which is?" "That Jacob stole from his children and you stopped him. That is it. That is the whole story. No nuance, no excuses." I felt something loosen in my chest. "Thank you. I am also making sure my kids know what happened. They are older than you and Tyler, but they need to understand. Money does strange things to people. Trust has to be earned, even from family." We talked for a while longer. She told me about her life in Paris, which she had cut short after finding out about my father's theft. She told me about her kids, both in their 30s now with careers and families of their own. She told me she was proud of me for standing up for myself. When we hung up, I felt something I had not felt in months. Not quite peace, but something close to it. A week later, I got an email from my father. The first direct communication he had sent since the court hearings. "Anne, I know you do not want to hear from me. I know you think I am a terrible person. Maybe I am. But I want you to know that I never meant to hurt you or Tyler. I made mistakes. Bad ones. I got in over my head financially and made poor decisions trying to fix it. I am sorry. I am paying back the money. It will take years, but I will do it. I hope someday you can forgive me, Dad." I read the email 3 times. Then I deleted it. Not because I did not care, but because an email apology felt cheap. Like he was checking a box. I apologized, so now we can move on. If he really wanted forgiveness, he would have to do more than send an email. He would have to demonstrate change. Sustained, genuine change. And that would take years. I was not going to wait around to see if he was capable of it. In August, Tyler moved to Denver. He transferred to a university downtown and got a job at a bookstore near campus. He found an apartment with 2 roommates in a neighborhood that was affordable if not glamorous. We had dinner once a week, sometimes more. He told me about his classes and his job. I told him about my projects at work. We did not talk about our father much. There was not much to say. One evening in September, we were walking through a park after dinner when Tyler said, "Do you ever regret it? Going after Dad the way you did?" "No. Do you?" "No. But I wonder sometimes what it would have been like if you had just let it go. If we had all pretended the Paris trip never happened and moved on. We would be pretending for the rest of our lives. Every family gathering, every holiday. We would have to act like nothing was wrong. Like he did not abandon me on Christmas and steal our inheritance." "I know. I am not saying you should have let it go. I am just saying I think about it sometimes." "Me too. But Tyler, here is the thing. If I had let it go, he would have kept stealing. The trust would have been empty in another year or 2. And then we would have lost the house completely." Tyler nodded slowly. "You saved it. The house, I mean. Grandma's house. We saved it. You backed me up. That mattered. We made a good team." We did. We walked in silence for a while, watching the sun set behind the buildings. Denver was beautiful in the early fall, the air cool but not cold, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink. "Do you think you will ever go back?" Tyler asked. "To Boulder, to the house?" "Maybe, someday. When enough time has passed." "How much time is enough?" "I do not know. Years, probably. I need distance from everything that happened there." "That makes sense." We walked back to our cars. Before we separated, Tyler hugged me. He did that now, hugged me goodbye every time we parted. It was new, this physical affection between us, a consequence of the crisis we had weathered together. "See you next week?" he asked. "See you next week." A year passed. Then another. The trust continued to function under professional management. My father made his court-ordered payments, though not always on time. The court had to send reminders twice, threatening asset seizure. But the money kept coming, slowly rebuilding what he had taken. I got promoted at work. Senior project coordinator, overseeing a team of 3 people. Better pay, better benefits, more responsibility. I moved to a bigger apartment in a nicer neighborhood. I adopted a cat. Life moved forward. Tyler graduated from college in the spring of his second year in Denver. He got a job at a nonprofit that worked on environmental policy. He was happy. More importantly, he was independent. He had built a life separate from our family drama, just like I had. My mother and I talked occasionally. Short phone calls every few weeks. She told me about her teaching job, her apartment, her new friends in Portland. She sounded lighter, unburdened. The divorce had been finalized. She was starting over at 53, and she seemed okay with that. We did not talk about my father unless necessary. She had moved on. I was trying to do the same. In May of the second year after the court case, I got a letter from Aspen Trust Services. The trust account had been fully restored. Between my father's repayments and careful management of the assets, the balance was back to where it should have been when my grandmother died. $200,000, plus growth. The house was safe. Our inheritance was secure. Everything my grandmother had wanted for us was intact. I called Tyler to tell him. He was quiet for a moment after I explained. "So it is really over?" he asked. "The financial part is. The trust is healthy. The house is protected. Dad will keep making payments for another 2 years, but that is just repaying what he took. The damage is fixed." How does that feel? Honestly, anticlimactic. I thought I would feel more satisfaction, maybe. Or closure. But it is just information. Numbers on a page. Yeah. I get that. We talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. I sat in my apartment, looking at the letter from the trust company, and tried to figure out what I felt. Not happiness. Not quite relief. Just a quiet sense of completion. Like finishing a very long, very difficult project at work. The revenge I had planned on that empty Christmas morning had succeeded. My father had been held accountable. The trust was restored. Justice had been done. But it had not healed anything. The family I grew up in was gone, fractured into pieces that would never fit back together. My relationship with my father was destroyed beyond repair. My relationship with my mother was cordial but distant. Even Tyler and I, as close as we had become, were bonded as much by shared trauma as by blood. Was it worth it? I thought about that question a lot in the weeks that followed. I turned it over in my mind during my commute, at the gym, lying in bed at night. And every time, I came back to the same answer. Yes. Because the alternative was letting my father get away with it. Accepting that family could treat you terribly and face no consequences. Learning that standing up for yourself was not worth the cost. I refused to learn that lesson. On Christmas morning of the second year, I woke up in my apartment in Denver. Alone, but by choice this time. Tyler had invited me to spend the holiday with him and his girlfriend. My mother had asked if I wanted to fly to Portland. I had declined both offers. I made coffee and sat by the window, watching the snow fall over the city. My cat curled up in my lap, purring. I thought about the Christmas 2 years ago when everything changed. I thought about the empty house, the silence, the feeling of abandonment. I thought about the moment I decided to fight instead of fall apart. I thought about my father, probably somewhere alone too, still paying for his choices. I thought about my mother, hopefully surrounded by her sister's family in Portland. I thought about Tyler, who had texted me earlier to wish me Merry Christmas. I did not regret what I had done. I would do it again, knowing everything I knew now about the cost. But I also knew I could not live in that anger forever. Revenge had served its purpose. It had protected the trust, held my father accountable, and given me back some measure of control. Now it was time to build something new. I spent the day reading, cooking a meal for myself, video calling with friends. It was quiet but not lonely. Peaceful in a way that Christmas 2 years ago had not been. That evening, I wrote a letter. Not to my father, but to myself. A record of everything that had happened and what I had learned from it. I learned that family is not an excuse for bad behavior. That love does not mean accepting mistreatment. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away. I learned that justice matters, even when it is hard. That standing up for yourself is worth the cost. That you do not have to forgive people who hurt you, but you do have to stop letting them define your life. I learned that revenge is not about destruction. It is about restoration. Taking back what was stolen. Reclaiming your dignity. And I learned that I was stronger than I thought. The antagonists of my story faced consequences that went far beyond courtrooms and financial penalties. My father lost his marriage, the respect of his children, his position of authority in the family, and his reputation. His siblings knew what he had done. His community knew. He would spend years repaying a debt that could never truly be settled, carrying the weight of his betrayal for the rest of his life. The man who had valued control and financial security above all else found himself with neither. He had gambled with his children's futures and lost everything that mattered. 2 years after I woke up alone on Christmas morning, I finally understood that the best revenge was not in destroying my father, but in building a life he could not touch. And looking back at the journey that had brought me here, at the strength I had found in that empty house, I knew one thing with absolute certainty: I would never let anyone make me feel disposable again.